Welcome to Price This House, a community access program designed to help you become more informed as to the goings-on in the local real estate community. My name is Dave O'Neil, broker-owner of Century 21 Spindler & O'Neil in North Reading, bringing you 35 years experience.
And my name is Kimberly O'Neil, also of Century 21 Spindler & O'Neil. I have over 15 years of professional experience, including nearly 10 in the real estate market.
The way that we've designed the show is basically into a few different segments. First will be a 2012 year in review. We'll be going through what actually happened in the real estate markets in North Reading, Reading, Andover, and Lynnfield. From there, we're going to actually spotlight one property that sold in each of those 4 communities.
We have some beautiful homes that sold recently in each of the communities that we're going to share with you.
And also, we're going to do Talk of the Town. We're going to bring in an expert in each show that we do to talk about something a little bit different than just the properties that have sold.
We're going to talk to some people that provide homeowner insurance, some real estate attorneys, some people involved with the recreation and things like that.
Right. I'm excited over some of the guests that we already have lined up. Also, we're going to be going outside of the local area just to give you a little flavoring of what's going on in a segment called Beantown and Beyond.
With the internet today, people are looking at a variety of communities. You have people that are in the city that are looking to move to the burbs as their families grow. You have empty nesters that are living in the burbs looking to move their way closer to the city. And so we're going to certainly spend some time focused on that area as well.
Our next section will actually deal with some questions and answers.
For future episodes, we're going to answer each of your questions, so please send them to price.thishouse@century21.com and we'll answer them live on the air.
And then for our wrap-up, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to talk about current listings just to give you an idea of the flavoring of what's available on the market today.
And we have some beautiful new construction, so we're really excited about this.
It's going to be a great time. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Dave and I both have accounting backgrounds by trade. Dave's been selling real estate for over 35 years, so we certainly have the real estate spin on it. But we really evaluate the numbers. When pricing a home, it's very important to not consider what your neighbor thinks the house is worth, or what your spouse thinks the house is worth, or what someone in another community thinks. The most important information is to look at what is actually recently sold for a very similar or comparable home. And so we're going to explain to you for the 4 communities, North Reading, Reading, Lynnfield, and Andover. We're going to explain what some of the stats were, the true numbers for the year 2012 in each of the communities, to give you a sense as to what's really going on in the marketplace.
This is really some exciting information. So we're going to start with North Reading single-family homes. In the year of 2012, we had 148 properties that sold. The average days on market were 119 days. Average sale price was $458,000. with an average listing price of $471,000. That's a 97% sale price on a listing price, which is actually showing you that the market is very healthy.
In Reading single-family home sales, we had 226 properties sell in 2012. They were on the market for an average of 73 days. There was an average sale price of $441,000 with an average list price of $450,000. Very strong sale to list price ratio of 98%. That's the Reading market.
In Lynnfield, there were 148 units sold with 121 days on the market. $498,000 sale price with an average list price of $522,000, or a 96% average list price ratio. So again, the market is very healthy in all of the communities around here.
Andover is the community of single-family homes that saw the most activity in 2012. We had 325 units sell in 2012, a very strong market. The average days on market was only 95. Average sale price a little bit higher, almost $600,000, coming in right at $599, and an average list price of $615,000. That's a 97% sale to list price ratio.
Quite impressive numbers, aren't they?
They very are, yeah.
Now we're going to move into the condo segment. In North Reading, we had 37 condos that sold with an average of 173 days on the market. Average sale price of $243,000. Average list price of $254,000, which gives us a 95% list price ratio.
And in Reading, again, a little bit closer to the city, we're going to see more condos because that's just typically how things kind of fall out. We had 89 units sold in Reading in 2012. They were on the market for an average of 65 days with an average sale price of $319,000 compared to an average list price of $322,000. That's a 99% sale price to list price ratio. Again, these numbers are fantastic. Last year was a very strong year, and we're hoping that it only continues to grow.
And in Lynnfield, there were 20 units sold, 163 days on market, $409,000 was your average sale price, average list price of $416,000, or a 98% list price ratio. Again, in all the local communities, the market is very healthy in condos as well as single-family homes.
Wrapping up Andover, we had 91 condo units sell with an average days on market of 118, an average sale price of $322,000 compared to an average list price of $332,000 for a selling price to list price ratio of 97%.
Now we're going to move into the multifamily. Again, when you get to towns like North Reading or Lynnfield, the population of multifamilies is so small. But I think it's still important for you to know what's going on in that segment of the market. In North Reading for the year 2012, we had 2 units that were sold with an average 33 days on the market, average sale price of $442,500 versus an average list price of $484,000, or a 96% list price ratio. Again, not a lot of units, but a healthy market as well.
In Reading, we had 13 multifamilies sell. They were on the market for an average of 75 days, an average sale price of $410,000, and an average list price of $430,000. That gave us a ratio of 95%.
And in Lynnfield, we had only 1 unit sell. On 183 days on the market, it was listed at $310,000, sold for $300,000, which is again a 97% list price ratio. 1 unit, but it's still sold very close to asking price. Again, an indicator of a healthy market.
Now, Dave, that particular unit started the market at $350,000, and it was after price reduction. So, just wanted to make sure that the viewers realize that the ratios that we're talking are usually after some sort of market adjustment. A lot of sellers try to test the market and go out a little bit higher than they think they can get, and usually it doesn't always work to their benefit to do that. They're typically better to price it correctly and get that high offer than they are to have to kind of keep reducing the home over and over again.
Experience has shown me that the person that puts the property on the market at where they expect it to sell will actually do a little bit better than the person that goes an extra 5 or 10% over that value and eventually ends up having to reduce the price. And then the market and the days on market add up and they actually get less money than if they put it on where it's expecting to sell. So again, pricing is so key. When we price a property to sell it, we're not only looking at the solds, but we're looking at the current competition and the under agreements. And that's a big, long, involved process that we'll talk about later on.
Great. And to wrap up multifamilies, for Andover, there were 5 multifamily units that were on the market for an average of 73 days. They had an average sale price of $399,000 with an average list price of $415,000 for that ratio coming in at 96%. Moving on to land. Yeah.
Land in North Reading, there were 5 units sold, 295 days on the market. The builders and developers have pretty much removed themselves from the speculation part of the market over the last 5 years while the economy downturn was in play. But as the market has started to rebound, the units are starting to sell again. Those 5 units sold with an average of 295 days on the market. Average list price of $214,000 versus an average sale price of $195,000, or a 90% list price ratio. Again, the last part of the market to come back, but it is certainly showing that it is coming back.
And wait till our next episode when we do a review of this past first quarter, and we'll be able to see some signs of some increase in that market. In Reading, the land, we had 4 parcels that sold. They were on the market for an average of 107 days. They had an average sale price of $220,000 with an average list price of $229,000, giving us a 96% selling price to list price ratio.
And to round out the 4 communities that we're talking about, Lynnfield had 3 units of land that sold. Average days on the market, 347 days. Average list price, $299,000. Average sale price of $279,000, or an 80% list price ratio. Again, the last to come back in the market, but we are seeing that units are at least selling at this point.
And good old Andover, 8 parcels of land sold on the market for an average of 137 days. Average sale price of $494,000 for a piece of land. That's very strong numbers. So very strong. Andover had a very good year in 2012. That was against an average list price of $535,000. And this is just for land. People have to build on top of that, which is why some of our the single-family home sales, were up as well in terms of pricing, and that led to a list price ratio of 94%.
But again, all the properties that we're talking about are 94 to 96, 98% list price ratio. So that tells you properties are moving. For a long period there, the news had it that things weren't selling at all. Properties are moving, and I think people should be encouraged by that news.
As long as you price the house correctly.
As long as you price it correctly.
And that's what we're here to help do. I'm kind of excited about this segment. This segment is going to spotlight a single-family home in each of the 4 communities, and we'll be able to, kind of give you a sense as to an actual, home, what it looks like, what it was priced, how it sold, and give you some of the details of each of these individual homes. So, Dave, why don't you start with a home in North Reading?
Sure. The first property that we want to talk about is 4 Navalis Road in North Reading. It was listed for $524,900 and sold for $516,000. It was 7 rooms, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, brand new colonial with a little over 2,000 square feet of living area on about 1/3 of an acre of land. House was brand new, absolutely beautiful. The builder had bought a tear down and built this property on there, which we're seeing a lot of in the community nowadays. And to be able to get a brand new house in a community like North Reading at $516,000, I think the buyers did well.
Now, Dave, you've been in North Reading for over 25 years. You've been a big part of this community, and we have a lot of local people that have been in town for a long time that are watching the show today. And we always like to kind of share a little kind of fun fact when we can. Is there a factoid on Navalis Street that you could share with the watchers?
Sure. I think most of the townies would know that Navalis is actually the name Sullivan spelled backwards. Sullivan was the developer of that area, and then he named the second street Navalis. And so any time that we have a house in that neighborhood, I usually tell the agents that it is Navalis is Sullivan spelled backwards.
Wasn't very creative.
No, not at all.
The next home we're going to be spotlighting was 659 Haverhill Street in Reading. It was a beautiful 5-bedroom colonial. It had an in-law over the garage, which gave it the 5th bedroom. It was built in 1998. It was custom built. It had beautiful woodworking throughout. The builder was actually known for his woodworking, and there were beautiful paneling, and there were wooden ceilings in the family room, which was actually a sunroom. Beautiful, level, fenced-in lot. Very, very nice home in Reading. It was listed for $699 at the time that it sold, and it sold for $670,000. It was right on Haverhill Street, so a bit of a tricky location being on the main road, but because it was set far back and had a double gate to the Haverhill Street and then the big backyard, it really kind of took that location out of play, and was a very, very nice home. Again, sold for $670,000. It was about it was about 3,600 square feet, including a finished basement and the au pair suite above the garage.
Very nice property.
The next property we'll be highlighting was from Lynnfield, 24 Old Town Road. Now, this is the case. This sold at the end of December, so we really kind of had a hot market all year long. And so by the time this came on the market, it was really starting to become a seller's market, and people were kind of getting into bidding wars if properties were sold correctly. We can't guarantee every listing gets into a pricing war or bidding war, but if you do price it correctly and listen to the competition, it is possible for you to do that. This was a beautiful 3-bedroom colonial. And it was priced to sell. It was about 2,000 square feet. It was an unfinished basement, but it had a beautiful yard, beautiful large yard, almost 7/10 of an acre, and had a brand new septic system that was installed as well. This actually came on the market at $459,000, but because it had so much activity, there were 30 or so groups through the first open house. Because it was priced so well, the buyers did the right thing, and we went in and offered $470,000, which was again, more than $10,000 over the listing price, and we're able to get that property paying over asking price.
Amazing, isn't it? People still pay over full price in today's market. And the last property we'll talk about will be 9 Gray Birch Road in Andover. It was listed for $638,000, sold for $627,000. It's a 11-room, 5-bedroom, 3.5-bath colonial with over 3,000 square feet of living area on slightly more than an acre of land. Now, this was a relocation buyer that came in from out of the country. Was here for a few months, decided to buy locally, and ended up being a judge's home that they purchased. So it was sitting in a very, very nice side street neighborhood and sold for very, very close to asking price. Again, all part of the market being very healthy today.
And it's amazing, isn't it, with the internet? You know, the old saying used to be national but neighborly. I mean, now it's really international. Here you have somebody coming in from, you know, the farthest end of the earth, and, you know, it's one phone call and it's internet, you know, emailing back and forth, and we're able to take what they want and translate that into a sale here, and that goes both ways, which is really something new to the market in the last couple of years.
It really was an interesting process, and talking to the buyers throughout the process, they would tell me different things that happened in their country regarding real estate and things over here and how they differed. So I found that to be a real interesting part of the process.
And it's nice we can find someone in the home of their dreams.
Now from here, we're going to go on to a segment called Beantown and Beyond. Because we deal outside the local market, Kim's going to spend a little bit of time talking about properties outside of the local marketplace.
For future episodes, we're going to only review one property between episodes, but because we had such a strong 2012 and we had some very interesting properties we want to highlight, we are going to highlight 3 of them for you today. Again, we see so much back and forth with either people purchasing property for their children or downsizing, empty nesters wanting a place in the city, or the other way around. You have a lot of first-time home buyers that, you know, get their first job in the city, they have an apartment in town, and they want to make their way to the suburbs. So we certainly do service all of those communities. It's not, you know, like the old days when you kind of focus on one little town. You really can be part of a lot of different communities and get exposure in a lot of different communities. The first property we're going to highlight is a beautiful townhouse in South Boston. It was located at 794 East 7th Street. It was Unit K, a beautiful 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a finished basement and garage parking, which in South Boston is not easy to come by. It was very tastefully decorated. It was part of the Boatyard community, which is right on the water. So a very nice part of South Boston, right near Castle Island, and the whole east side of the community, which is very desirable. We had that listed for $609,000 and sold it within the first open house for $599,000. And it was just amazing. We had so much interest because of that strong location that we were able to sell that very quickly. And it's amazing, you know, that you pick that up and move it into one of the communities we're talking about. We're talking about a much different price point, but it was a $600,000 property in South Boston. The second property we're going to discuss was 1 Grantland Road Extension in Wellesley. This was a 4-bedroom, 3-bath home. And this is an interesting story because this actually was on the market with a local Wellesley broker for, you know, on and off for over a year. And it just needed a fresh set of eyes and some fresh marketing and some fresh strategy, and a little bit of price adjustment as well. And we went in and listed it for $685,000 and were able to sell it in less than 30 days for $650,000. Now, Wellesley is a beautiful community, but the one downside of Wellesley is that both Routes 9 and Route 16 run directly through it. This home happened to be right where the 2 major roads traveled through Wellesley, so, you know, not the best location, but with some creative marketing, we were able to bring our own buyer in and get that sold for them in less than 30 days. So again, there's a buyer for every home. You just have to be creative with your marketing, and you have to make sure that you price it correctly. The last property I'd like to highlight today is new construction in Needham, 76 Ardmore Road. It was a beautiful 11-room, 5-bedroom, 5.5 bathroom, new construction home with 2-car garage, and it actually had over a half an acre of land, which in these parts doesn't sound like that excessive piece of property, but for Needham, that's actually almost a double lot. They're building things on much smaller parcels. Usually you only get about 10,000 square feet. This had almost 23,000 square feet, and that had a 5,300 square foot home on it. Very beautiful home. That was listed for $1.4 million. Beautiful home, beautiful family that moved in, and just wanted to show you what some of the other communities, you know, go for comparably priced.
As Kim mentioned before, the internet really has changed the real estate business. The internet has really opened up the doors. It used to be that the realtors were gatekeepers. We knew everything that went on in our little community, but very seldom would somebody from outside the area come into our marketplace, and very seldom did we actually go into other marketplaces. That has all changed now with the internet. So we've had to change the way we do business, and we do actually travel. No real estate company could survive in one little community as we used to do. So now we travel all the way from Boston up to southern New Hampshire.
We are going to have a question and answer session in future episodes. Again, this is being our first episode. We want to have you have an opportunity to reach out to us. You can email us at price.thishouse@century21.com, and we'll be certain to take those questions on the air for our next episode and make sure we get you whatever answers to whatever questions that you might have.
And the last segment of our show is going to be called the wrap-up. And basically that's going to give you something to think about. We'll talk about one of the new listings or one of the properties on the market at the time, and just to kind of give you a little bit of something to think about in between shows.
Actually, Dave, why don't you talk about some new construction that we have as something to leave them on. We have a brand new development in North Reading on the Andover line that's quite exciting. So why don't you share with our audience a little bit about that?
Sure. As a wrap-up today, we're going to leave you with some new construction on 5 new colonials that are being built on Marblehead Street in North Reading. It's going to be called Forest Green because it's overlooking Bradford Pond and the Harold Parker State Forest. It's going to be 3,000 square foot colonials by a fantastic Lynnfield builder, and the pricing will be in the low 700s. So again, we'll show you some pictures of what's involved: beautiful cherry kitchens, beautiful granite, beautiful hardwood, nice big open foyers, all the bells and whistles that people are looking for in today's market. Well, that brings us to the end of today's show. I want to thank you for taking some time, spending it with us, and we look forward to seeing you next month. Again, I'm Dave O'Neil, broker-owner of Century 21 Spindler & O'Neil. It's been our pleasure.
And I'm Kimberly O'Neil, a Century 21 Spindler & O'Neil. Please join us next time when Rita Mullen will be joining us to talk about
the Recreation Department. What else does Rita talk about? Thank you.
We look forward to it. Thank you for watching Price This House.